All right, all my YouTube neighborinos, how you doing today? With all the hubbub going around about Soy Man and the pronouns of the universe. Oh wait, I'm sorry. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe movie that just got released and then is out of theaters now. That's how bad it was. I just thought we'd take a look back to the first mini comic that was ever produced with the first wave of figures. I got this mini comic with one of the figures uh, when I was a kid in 1982. This is 1982. This is what they gave kids in 1982. You could not give kids something like this today. You would be canceled as a toy company in exactly 5 seconds. Because, and we'll see why. If you've never seen this comic before, you'll see why. The art is, in my opinion, second to none. The story is great. It does have some holes in it because the story was made before the figures were finalized and things like that. And we'll see those inconsistencies. I'll point out some of them throughout the story and stuff like that. But the first thing we're presented with here is this cover, 1981. Wow, printed in the USA. That's how you know it's old. You got all these heroes and villains here, which you'll soon find out are He-Man, Man-at-Arms, Beastman, and Skeletor. Now let's crack open the first page, and we'll see that He-Man is not Prince Adam. He is actually a barbarian that left his tribe. A mighty figure stood at the edge of the jungle that had, until this day, always been his home. He-Man, the tribe's greatest warrior. He-Man, the tribe's greatest warrior, waved his farewell. He might have preferred to stay, but he had a noble mission to accomplish. Evil forces exist on our planet Eternia, He-Man told his people. They seek to control the legendary Castle Grayskull, a place of wonders. If we are to know a lasting peace, I must go out and battle those forces. Farewell. So you see, there's no Prince Adam in his little pink outfit or anything like that, raising a sword to the sky. He was a barbarian that left his tribe. Now, going on to the next page, the outside world had long been a mystery to He-Man's tribe. Although they had heard the fantastic tales about the mysterious Castle Grayskull, He-Man was one of his first people to trudge these craggy cliffs and quake-torn valleys. His homeland was already in the distant mist when he heard a cry for help. Gazing into the valley, He-Man saw that his courage and jungle-bred strength were already needed. Look at the art. Look at the background art in this. This is just, it gives you that epic fantasy feel, right? You see a woman in green battling some type of purple monster and everything like that. And like I said, this is the early art, so that's why if you think this looks like Skeletor's Havoc staff, it does. Uh, so from what I understand, the guy that created the mini comics was just given Polaroids of the action figures and stuff, so they could have been in pre-development as well. In a blur of bronze movement, He-Man leapt from the cliffside and onto his shaggy foe. His powerful fingers dug deeply into the monster's hide, but He-Man was not fighting this creature alone. He-Man glimpsed the woman as she gestured magically and attacked the creature with mystical bolts of force. She's a sorceress, he thought, but her magic hardly fazed the animal. The same could not be said of He-Man's might. So here we see the first appearance of the green-skinned sorceress. She's referred to as a sorceress here. I think in future books she's referred to as the goddess, and then she's replaced with the sorceress from the cartoon. But look at that. You see blood oozing out of the creature's mouth. Defeated, the animal fled, while the sorceress regained her breath. Your strength, your courage, she said, mark you as the legendary hero who is to inherit the treasures I have guarded all these years. They were made centuries before the Great Wars by Eternia's scientists. Inside the ancient ruins, the sorceress gave He-Man the guarded costumes and weapons. They will add to your strength. Use them wisely, especially in defense of Castle Grayskull. And here we see all the iconic He-Man weapons: the shield, the battle axe, the battle vest, his boots, things of that nature, the sky sled to the battle ram, and you get the chariot here. Now we're going to see another instance of this chariot later on in this book, and I do have what I feel to be an explanation as to why it's there. But look at the background, look at the cliffs, look at the depth that this art gives you. And this was in 1981, guys, 1981, 1982. And this was given to kids, 6, 7-year-old kids, which this is just some of the most epic stories ever told. Next page, here we go. Riding the strange vehicle, which is a combination battering ram, catapult, and space warp device, He-Man set off again on his mission. A particular valley, still miles away from the castle, struck his fancy. This valley would serve as his new home and headquarters. Wearing the costume that gave him superhuman strength, He-Man went to work carving out his new home, using no tools other than the power in his fist. So we see that he has the bracers now, he has the dagger in his boot. He didn't have the belt last time. Nope, he didn't have the belt last time either. So those are all things that the sorceress gave him. Again, the background, you can see just how, I can't say it enough, how epic fantasy this was. But even as He-Man constructed his dwelling, evil eyes were gazing upon Teela, the warrior goddess, as she watered her unicorn charger. There is none in all eternity as beautiful as she, grunted the ape-like Beastman. I'm really starting to believe that she is a goddess. Soon she will be more than that, whispered his master Skeletor. Soon she will be my bride. Now this is where we get the term sorceress and goddess confused. Because Teela was packaged as the warrior goddess with the snake staff and the armor and things like that. But look at Beastman, a lot different than the action figure. But they can only do so much with action figures, I guess, in the 80s or something like that. But just look how menacing he looks, and look at all the plants. Those plants look like nothing we have on planet Earth. You can tell that Eternia is just an alien world, and it sparks the imagination so much. But it was no simple matter to capture the warrior goddess. She fought like a demon, her body possessing the spirits of many ancestral champions. Only Skeletor's energy blade, after freezing her courageous steed, at a long last shocked her unconscious. Carry her to Grayskull, Skeletor commanded his underling Beastman. But be careful, I do not like having my bride to be damaged. Now, you would never get a kid's book to say the word demon or possessed or possessing today. That just wouldn't happen. This was before the satanic panic of the 80s. Okay, trust me guys, I know all about the satanic panic. I might do a video on that later on. But look at Teela. Look at Teela. Oops, sorry. I scrolled the window there. Look at Beastman. Look at his toenails and stuff. It just looks scraggly. It just looks freaking awesome. Again, it's the art that sucks you in. Even as a kid, even if you couldn't read that well yet, 6, 7 years old, can't read words like maybe possessing or something like that. Just the pictures bring you into the story. You feel like you're there watching it. By nightfall, Skeletor and Beastman had brought their sleeping captive to Castle Grayskull, a fortress so ancient that no one knew its origin. An eerie voice, that of the castle's all-present spirit, warned them, "Go back. The secrets and treasures of Castle Grayskull are not for one to possess. Go away. Another warrior secretly watched as Skeletor defied the warning and forced open the castle's drawbridge. Now, a couple things to take apart here in the picture is, yes, this is Stratos. Stratos was billed as one of the evil characters at first. This is Merman, of course. This is Skeletor. And that staff looks really similar to the one that the sorceress had at the beginning of the story. Look at Castle Grayskull. Just an awesome, awesome picture, Castle Grayskull. And that person up there, they never identify, but we're going to see who it 99.9% probability could be. Look at the moon, the clouds in front of the moons. Look at the jagged rocks. You can tell that this is just a desolate area. Entering the grim castle, Skeletor and his accomplice failed to notice the other warrior departing through the shadows in his heavily armed chariot. I defy you, spirit of the castle, shouted Skeletor. Your many secrets shall be mine. I hold half of the mystic power sword. I shall soon possess the other half, which is hidden within your walls. Then I will have full power, and none of your deadly traps will stop me. Look at that. They just walked into Castle Grayskull. You see the grim gray walls, some shields on the wall. Again, it looks like this place is just cold, desolate, abandoned. And we're telling story more through words, more than just through words. We're telling the story through art. Let's go to the next page. There we go. When I join both halves of the power sword together, exclaimed Skeletor, the magic fires created by ancient scientists and sorcerers will blaze again. And he thought back. Once I lived in another dimension, populated with others of my kind. But when the Great Wars opened a hole in the dimensional wall, I was thrown into this world. With the complete power sword, I shall reopen that hole and bring my people here to conquer this dimensional world. And here we get a short origin story of Skeletor, that he's actually a being from another dimension, got thrown here, and everything like that. He needs to join both halves of the power sword to open it up, to bring more of his kind in, to fully conquer Eternia. But look at the depth in that headshot of Skeletor. Look how menacing it looks. He's missing teeth, scraggly teeth. And look at you can see that the power sword, that's not just a name. You can see the energy around it. So, such beautiful art. After strapping the unconscious warrior goddess to a stone slab, Beastman searched, with animal-like cunning, through the castle. At last he found an ancient scroll upon which had been drawn a map. The map, which seemed to have been drawn in blood, had many strange symbols which only Skeletor could understand. They show the way to a fiery sword, he shouted. Following the map, Skeletor led the way to a secret passage. Now, some things you'd never get in anything kid-related today is a woman tied up, a scroll in blood. Look at the lighting in this picture. Right? They did the lighting just so beautifully. That secret door, which hasn't been opened in hundreds of years, I'm sure. Skeletor found it. And look at Skeletor. You know, he's being very cautious. You can tell he's being very cautious in the castle. You can tell Beastman really doesn't understand what's going on. Fun fact is, from what I understand, is Beastman was supposed to be the main villain, and Skeletor was supposed to be Beastman's lackey when they first had the initial concepts of Masters of the Universe, but they changed it. Look at that. It just looks ancient and barren. He-Man was finishing his dwelling when he saw the approaching chariot. "And what brings the famous Man-at-Arms to my humble house?" he asked sarcastically. Man-at-Arms, whose people were masters of all weapons, described what he has seen. If Skeletor controls the castle, he might use its secret to conquer Eternia, he said coldly, and I shudder to think what fate he has planned for the warrior goddess. Now here we see the axe that He-Man came with, and we also see this battle chariot that the sorcerers gave He-Man way back in the first part of the story. Now, I would say that maybe Man-at-Arms, because it says here, people were master of all weapons, maybe he had one left over from the Great Wars as well. So that battle chariot that He-Man got from the sorceress might not have been unique. They may have maintained this over the years, or such as that, and that's how he got it. Which this was never really produced as a toy, unfortunately. Let's click the next page. If we fight side by side, offered Man-at-Arms, we can more easily defeat Skeletor and his henchmen. You would be a worthy partner, said He-Man, but if the threat is as great as you say, I have no time to waste getting to Castle Grayskull by wheels. And before Man-at-Arms could say another word, He-Man activated the Battle Ram space warp device. Moments later, He-Man was vanishing to reappear somewhere else. And this is the initial idea behind the Battle Ram, right? It was a space warp. It could, teleport and everything like that. And they did away with that in later incarnations and the cartoon as well. It just turned into a sky sled that everybody had one. They were tripping over sky sleds in Eternia. They had so many. So that was kind of a little bit of a bummer there. But Man-at-Arms is just awesome looking. That mace that Man-at-Arms wielded, it was just crazy looking too. Look at the mountains up there. Just the way they did it with the depth and the shading and stuff like that. And you can see the energy field around He-Man and the Battle Ram. At the castle, meanwhile, Skeletor and Beastman had reached the end of the secret passageway and found a rusty metal door. But as they touched the door, the spirit of the castle cursed them and unleashed its ghostly demons. Beastman's claws and fangs only went through the specters, but Skeletor's lightning blade quickly blasted them to nothingness. Again, I defeat you, spirit of the castle, rasped Skeletor. Now to seize your greatest treasure. Again, today you're not going to see anything like this. You're not going to see the word demon in a kid's story or anything like that. But look at that. You can tell that door has been there for an ungodly amount of time. That blade, they use that interchangeably with the power sword. But look at that. You can tell Beastman is just feral as anything. Until Skeletor is the cold, calculating one. Yet not even the brute strength of Beastman could break open the door. Stand back, you ape, ordered Skeletor, as he proceeded to cut through the ancient door with his lightning blade as if it were melting butter. And even as the door gave way, a commotion could be heard from outside. See what it is, commanded Skeletor, and Beastman loped obediently down the dark corridor. Look at it, cutting the old door open. Outside the castle, He-Man was using his vehicle like a battering ram to try to gain entry. He-Man, snarled Beastman, as he reached the castle's laser cannon and fired a deadly bolt towards his foe, but He-Man's force field garment easily repelled the blast. Is that the best you can do, you brainless gorilla? He-Man taunted. If so, I have nothing to worry about. So, how did Beastman know who He-Man was? We didn't think about this at the time. They never really do tell you why. But look at that. Again, you can see Castle Grayskull in all of its greatness. A laser cannon. Perhaps He-Man did not have to worry about the laser cannon penetrating his force field, but He did not figure on Beastman choosing a new target, the vehicle which was not protected by the barrier of force. As He-Man rolled out of the overturning vehicle, his costume's force field was accidentally switched off. "Now to finish you off," growled Beastman, aiming the laser cannon at his seemingly helpless victim. And we can see the laser cannon there, which is quite different than the laser cannon you got with the toy. Beastman fires at the ground next to the battle ram, bloop, throws He-Man off it. His force field gets switched off. Look at the ground there. That is just, again, we're telling an awesome story, not through just words, but through art. Look at the shadowing there in Castle Grayskull. Inside the tunnel, Skeletor saw the shiny object. Its broken blades seemed to beckon him. He grasped it in his scaly hands, then eagerly placed the two halves of the ancient object together. He could feel the unbelievable energies of the sword as the blade burst into green fire. "The restored power sword," he exclaimed. With this, I am invincible. There is nothing I cannot do. Nothing." Weapon in hand, he turned thirsty for battle. Before Beastman could make good his threat, his attack was interrupted by the timely appearance of Man-at-Arms. Firing his flame-throwing weapon, Man-at-Arms said, "I'll keep him occupied, He-Man." Now that you'll see, this is the back half of what came with the Battle Ram toy. So I always thought that maybe Man-at-Arms brought this instead of his battle chariot. When he was at He-Man's home, he basically carjacked He-Man for it, sort of. And that flame weapon isn't on the back half of the battle ram itself. It's actually something that Man-at-Arms had, maybe handheld or something like that. Turning to the castle, He-Man pulled with all his mighty strength, taxing his natural power to the limit. Finally, he pulled down the creaking drawbridge. Flexing his muscles, he said, "Now to help Teela and stop the evil Skeletor." And we can see a ledge there on Castle Grayskull, which I don't think was molded into the toy. In fact, I know it wasn't. But look at Castle Grayskull there. It just looks massive. And He-Man looks so tiny trying to pull the drawbridge down. Throwing off his damaged force field costume, He-Man hurried down the castle elevator, finding Skeletor waiting for him. With a simple wave of the power sword, Skeletor brought to life many objects inside the castle and commanded them to attack his foe. Without his force field to protect him, He-Man fought off the barrage of objects as best he could, but the objects, energized by the power sword, continued coming. "This is only the beginning," boasted Skeletor. And I guess he got rid of his boots and his belt and his gauntlets too, for some reason. Maybe he's going to take care of Skeletor old school, right? So, but Skeletor's moment of triumph was abruptly ended as the beautiful figure appeared before him, glowing green like the energies of the power sword. "You have abused the power sword," the sorceress said, and with magical gestures she removed the power sword from Skeletor's hands, splitting it again into halves. Immediately, the objects attacking He-Man dropped lifelessly to the floor. A moment later, the sorceress vanished. She's taken the sword from Skeletor, everything drops. Having lost his most powerful weapon, Skeletor fled to the roof of the castle, where Beastman and Man-at-Arms were already engaged in mortal combat. He-Man saw an awakened Teela tear herself free of her bonds. Then both warriors rushed up to the castle's elevator. Soon they were hotly engaged in the rooftop battle. Hopelessly outnumbered, Skeletor and Beastman both pleaded mercy. With that plea, the battle ended. So you see they're working some of the toy features into the story here, like the elevator, right? And you see Teela has He-Man's battle axe, and they're just fending off the villains. Look at that. Skeletor looks menacing. Beastman looks kind of worried. And Teela, I guess she's kind of mad that she was tied up and everything like that. So, together, He-Man, Man-at-Arms, and Teela watched their defeated foes flee towards the horizon. Then, seeing an apparition below, they climbed down from the roof of the castle. "From now on," said the sorceress, "only the halves of the power sword inserted into this enchanted lock will open the castle's drawbridge. And to keep this castle from falling again and to keep this castle from again falling into evil hands, I shall hide both halves in secret places." Saying that, she vanished again in a green cloud. And we see our heroes watching the villains run away. And Teela has a battle axe there. He-Man has his battle axe. I always thought that Teela picked up the battle axe from all the weapons that Skeletor was attacking He-Man with magically, and they fell to the floor after he lost the power sword. But again, look at the back. You see the moon there, that tree that looks all scraggly and maybe dead or dying. You see the mountains in the distance. "You truly are the masters of the universe, who are destined to protect my secrets from evil forces," said the spirit of the castle. "You should have at least some small reward." That reward came in the form of a snow-white unicorn that galloped over the hill, returning to his mistress. "Do you think that is the last of those two, or the power sword?" asked Man-at-Arms. "I doubt it," answered He-Man. But as he looked toward the rising sun, it seemed to be a good omen for Eternia and the Masters of the Universe. Now, in the original concept for the Masters of the Universe, they were called the Lords of Power, but that was taken out for religious reasons. Because, you got demons, you got scrolls written in blood, you got this, that, and the other. You got a castle that looks like it's downright possessed and everything like that. But Lords of Power is the problem. Anyway. And then we can see that we go right back to the beginning of the book. This is one of the most awesome stories ever told. And they completely, in my opinion, messed it up with the Prince Adam thing and everything like that. Completely see-through in the cartoon. It was all tongue-in-cheek in the cartoon, which I didn't like. I wanted to see this. I wanted to see this type of art in the cartoon. I wanted to see this story brought to life. If you watch the original He-Man advertisement where they did the cartoon and everything like that, that's what I wanted in the cartoon. But unfortunately, we got what we got, and there were reasons for it. I understand there were reasons for it, but still, can't we go back and do a full animation thing of this story and the other 3 original mini comics? That would be so freaking epic. I mean, just the art that was done in this is beautiful. I'll put a link in the description to the site that I'm pulling this from. But just beautiful. I'm so happy that this was part of my childhood and it's not sanitized, homogenized crap that kids get today. Alright, thank you for watching my video. Thank you for listening to me rant about the good old days. I guess this old man is going to go out and yell at some clouds. Have a great one. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel for more content, and thank you for viewing.